Heavyweight champion Tyson Fury has been making headlines left and right since winning the belt. Now he's opening up to Rolling Stone about his personal struggles with drugs and depression, saying, listen, I've done a lot of things in my life. I've done lots of cocaine, lots of it. Why shouldn't I take cocaine? It's my life, isn't it? I can do what I want. Plenty of people have done cocaine as well. What the bleep has that got to do with anything? That ain't a performance-enhancing drug. Am I not allowed to have a life now as well? Do they want to take my personal life off me too? I've not been in the gym for months. I've not been training. I've been going through depression. I just don't want to live anymore. If you know what I'm saying, I've had total enough of it. They forced me to the breaking edge. Never mind cocaine, I just didn't care. I don't want to live anymore, so cocaine is a little minor thing compared to not wanting to live anymore. Fury recently testing positive for cocaine and was declared medically unfit to fight a rematch with Vladimir Klitschko. Max, what should happen with Fury?
Well, he should be stripped of the title. But I have a theory about this, Stephen A. And let me just say, Tyson Fury, even though he said some anti-Semitic and anti-gay things and says outrageous things, and people will read some of what he just had to say as outrageous, in spite of that, is on a personal level actually a charming guy, and in many respects may reflect this generation's access to all of this information, but a lot of it's low-quality information that you can get online, for example, and without a lot of formal education, doesn't know how to vet the information, doesn't know what to make of it all, so picks and chooses the stuff that reinforces some of the bad stuff he already believes. He reminds me, Stephen A., of another kind of paranoid, delusional champion who folded under the pressure of defending his title. And let me just say, when someone's talking about suicide, that's really serious. It's very important. He's admitting he's depressed. He's admitting he's suicidal. That should be taken seriously, and hopefully he gets better and gets help. But I'm reminded of Bobby Fischer, the great chess champion, won the title in the early mid-'70s, and had talked a lot of smack. Now, Fischer was a much greater chess player than Tyson Fury is a fighter. But on the way up, had talked a lot of smack about how he was going to beat everybody, and he finally won the title. And he couldn't, his ego was so thin, it was so unprepared to be champion, he couldn't tolerate the idea of defending the title, because if you defend it, you might lose it. And once you've achieved everything you said you were going to achieve, why take that risk? And his personality collapsed under that pressure and never really played another serious game of chess on a world-class level again. Tyson Fury's no Bobby Fischer for his sport. He had a much rockier road to the title, but he was undefeated, and he talked smack the whole way. And when he eventually won the title, Stephen A. Smith, it was against a great champion, long reigning. Yes, Vladimir Klitschko was old, probably not as good as he once was. Maybe didn't take Tyson Fury seriously enough. It was a terrible fight, one of the worst heavyweight fights you ever want to see. But Tyson Fury actually did it. He won the heavyweight title. And now the thought that he's accomplished that, of having to defend it, I believe his personality is collapsing under that pressure. That's my read of this situation.
Well, first of all, you're right about the fight. It was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. And Vladimir Klitschko, I didn't know what the hell was wrong with him. He was scared to throw the right hand for like the first 8 rounds or something. I couldn't believe how much aggression he lacked. I was very, very surprised by that. But it was one of the worst fights I've ever seen, to be quite honest with you. Tyson Fury, I think when he won the title, he stood in the ring and sang to his fiancée or his wife. I think that I remember that. 25-0, 18 KOs. He wasn't that impressive to me. I will tell you this. When you say he should be stripped of his title, I don't disagree, but only because of what he said. What's the big deal? So what, I did it. I got bigger issues. He's a problem, and you're going to have to deal with that problem. And you can't deal with it with this guy thinking that it's no big deal that he's using cocaine, okay? A matter of fact, Max, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke or something like that. But when the news was revealed that he had tested positive for cocaine, he sent out a tweet with a picture of him being Tyson Montana.
Tony Montana.
Tony Montana
from Scarface.
From Scarface.
Right. Behind a mountain of cocaine.
Scarface,
yeah.
right? About a pound of cocaine, and that's what he did. That's what he put there. Clearly unapologetic. The guy's a problem. You can't have that as the heavyweight champion of the world. It's a bad representation for the sport of boxing, and he should be stripped immediately.
I disagree with that, Stephen A.
Remember.
Good. I disagree with that because one of the things that I love about the heavyweight championship of the world, and I talk about lineal titles, meaning the man who beat the man, I don't pay attention to sanctioning bodies, is because you can be however you want once you win the heavyweight championship. No one has to like it. A lot of people didn't like Muhammad Ali, and they stripped him for un-American comments at the time, but you have to beat him in the ring. The reason I would strip him in this case has nothing to do with what he said, whether he's glamorizing drugs or not. It's the fact that he's admitting that he is not in a position to defend his title, partly because he's abusing drugs, and after a certain point in time, the heavyweight title can't be frozen. He's freezing the title.
Well, let me speak. Let me get to my point. I'm saying to you, he's admitting he's got this problem and that he doesn't care. So he's not trying to alleviate the problem. If you're not trying to alleviate the problem, you're giving indications that you're going, not only have you done it, you will continue to do it because you don't see what the big deal is and you don't care how it looks. That's a problem for the sport. The difference between that and other folks is that even when they had a problem, they tried to hide it because they didn't want to reveal it, which means somewhere within the crevices of their soul, they knew it was wrong. They just either couldn't help themselves or wanted to try and get away with it, but they knew it wasn't something they could bloviate about publicly because, again, champions can't be that way in representing their sport. So the fact that he's unapologetic about it, to me, has everything to do with why he should be stripped.
But that's why that's the point I'm arguing. That's the point I'm arguing. What I'm saying is, I don't care. I agree. I don't care that he says that he wants to glamorize drugs, that he's admitting that he has. I don't care about that. That's not.
But I'm saying I got your point. I'm saying I got your point. I just disagree with that. I got your point. I heard your argument. We comprehend it. I disagree. I think because he said what he said, he should be stripped. But also because of the sport of boxing being the way it is, all I was going to add to that was, let's not act like this is new. There's been a whole bunch of fighters in the sport of boxing that had a multitude of very, very serious issues, and they were still champions, okay? Let's understand that. But I differ from you because of what he said on the record, how unapologetic he is.
That's what we're arguing about.
I cannot have that.
Yes, that's what we're. Yes, that I agree.
You
have identified the point of contention. That is, in fact, what we're arguing about. And what I'm saying is, what's so cool about boxing and championships is, it doesn't matter what you think about drugs or politics or groups of people or anything else. Either they can whoop you in the ring or they can't. So I don't care about any views someone espouses in terms of them being qualified to be champion, because that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is your preparedness to defend your title. And if, because of some view you hold about drugs, it's fine to do, and therefore I'm out of shape, or your mental health prevents you from defending the title, and you're admitting you're not going to do anything about it, and in fact, you're therefore not going to defend the title, then you should be stripped, because what you're essentially saying is you're freezing out the rest of boxing.
Max, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If Tyson Fury was training in a gym and he was in shape, but he looked you in your face and said, yo, Max, let's talk some boxing. And he starts sniffing coke right in front of you and he don't mind. But he's training.
Yep.
And he's in shape to fight to defend his crown.
Yep.
You're saying that you would condone him stepping in the ring, knowing he's coked up, and you have no problem with that?
No, you could actually argue that changes the competitive landscape of the fight, and it's illegal, and they test for it, and I think it's a good thing they test for it. But if he's simply espousing beliefs about drugs or talking about past use, then, yeah, he can still be heavyweight champ and fight.
But he's not just espousing use. He's not just espousing use.
Right.
He's telling
he's
you
actually
using. He doesn't see the big deal.
And that's preventing him from fighting, and therefore he should be stripped because it's preventing him from fighting.
But he also said that he hadn't been in the gym. He hasn't trained. He's out of shape.
Yeah, but he said that was because he's depressed.
To you,
he can come.
Yeah, but I'm saying to Max, hold on, I'm saying to Max sounds like he's saying if the guy had just said I'm doing cocaine, but he was telling us that he's training and he's ready to kick Vladimir Klitsch goes behind, then Max would have no problem with it. That's how it sounded.
Well,
that's all I'm trying to say.
If they have, there's a certain number of weeks that you get tested, and you can't be using certain chemicals before the fight. If you violate that, then that's bad, and then you could be stripped. But if you're talking about use outside of the kind of the scope of those tests, and you're using outside the scope of those tests, what does that have to do with whether or not you can whoop someone in the ring?
If you test positive for cocaine, you don't need to be the heavyweight champion of the world.
But look.
Period.
Once upon a time, people said that about Jack Johnson, about Muhammad Ali. Now, those were more serious, important issues that I think you and I would agree upon, that Jack Johnson was married to a white woman and crossed state lines with her, that Muhammad Ali didn't want to be inducted into the armed forces on religious grounds. Okay, fine. But the bottom line still was people who supported them on both sides, even some political opponents of Jack Johnson and Muhammad Ali, would say, wait a minute, can you whoop him in the ring? Because if you can't, he's still champ. But Ali and Johnson were willing to get in the ring.
That about a cocaine
this guy's not willing to get in the ring.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Even if he was willing to get into the ring, if he's admitting that he's sniffing coke on a daily basis, I don't think people would approve of that. That's me. I don't believe that.